All right. Many of you already know I am not and never will be a big Elon Musk fan, but this is a good topic of interest, and that is remote work because so many Americans were impacted by doing remote work, especially during the pandemic. And even in times after the pandemic, there's still millions of Americans that are working out of their homes. So now it's a question. There are some corporations that want to bring people back to office buildings. And then on the other hand, because I have seen the articles out there are companies that don't want to lease any office buildings, and they are coming out a lot better financially by allowing their workers to do everything from home. So, it's a real hot topic, and I suppose it probably always will be as long as you have people working remotely. And it's a huge time for this kind of thing because, even after they declared the pandemic emergency as over, it is still a lot of people that have never switched back to the office. And you always have people that are now resisting going back. So let's get into the story. I have a video that I want you to see from CBS.
But bless high-speed internet.
I think, like anybody, it was a bit of an adjustment. Working from home, you have the opportunity to concentrate and be more focused in a way that you naturally can't in an office.
I think it's working really well, and the thought of commuting again and being on the train and the time that I would lose to that.
My office is in my car, in my home, in my kitchen.
So many people started working from home for the first time during the pandemic, and they found that they actually really like it. So that's led to this tug of war between employers and employees.
When the pandemic hit, millions of people converted their kitchens, living rooms, and bedrooms into home offices. Now, 3 years later, companies want workers to return to the buildings they vacated. Even though many employees say they're happy staying at home, but those remote options are shrinking. LinkedIn reports the number of jobs with the work from home option account for just over 12% of postings. That's down from 20.6% last year. Still, it's what workers want. That shrinking pool of jobs is attracting the majority of applicants. Nearly 51% of applicants are looking for remote work. As businesses and their employees work through this mismatch, corporations are investing in other ways to attract and retain their workforce. The jobs, human resource analytics, diversity and inclusion, and employee experience managers are 3 of the top 5 fastest growing positions in the U.S., according to LinkedIn. Guy Berger joins me now. He is the principal economist at LinkedIn. Guy, it's good to see you again. How do you see this push and pull between remote work? Is it become and the desire to bring people back to the office? Where does the needle stand on that push and pull?
Well, the needle is far more toward remote work than it was before the pandemic, but it is swinging back as employers gain some bargaining power relative to workers.
And that bargaining power comes from what? The waning of the pandemic as a force in American life, or the jitters and the feelings about the economy?
I think it's a lot of it's the latter. I think that, it's important to remember that while the labor market is still pretty hot and there's still a lot of opportunity out there for people seeking jobs, it's not as much as it was, at the height of the Great Reshuffle at the beginning of 2022. And so employers are kind of flexing those muscles a little bit and being a little stingier with offering remote work and flexibility.
You mentioned the Great Reshuffle. We've talked about this before. You prefer that term to the Great Resignation, and so you can remind us again why that is the case. But the number of people transitioning from one job to another has dropped 35% from the same time last year. Is the end of this Great Reshuffling a choice by workers, or is it created out of the current state of economic conditions?
I think that it's the state of the current economic conditions. The labor market is still hot. It's still tight. but it's cooled off a little bit from where we were a year ago. Whereas before, employees and people searching for jobs might have had a lot of opportunities. Now they still have opportunities, not as many, and so they're not quitting as quickly as they did before.
Do you see employers doing anything to take advantage of this opportunity, which is it's a chance to reimagine work. It's a chance to rethink and make work more meaningful, productive, try out new kinds of ideas, because basically everybody could say, sort of, we got a fresh sheet of paper here, it's clean, let's redesign. Is that any part of the thinking in terms of this relationship between employers and employees?
Absolutely. And jumping back to the initial discussion of remote work, what's interesting is that while a lot of employers are pulling back from offering these kind of remote roles, employers that are still willing to offer remote work, that are still willing to offer this flexibility, they suddenly have, they're suddenly in the driver's seat, being able to pick up talent they would never have been able to hire before. So I think this is actually a great opportunity for a lot of employers to really, increase their footprint.
One of the things we also noticed in these data was the shift of people moving back to metro areas. Just one of them, where you are in San Francisco, one of the biggest influxes in the past year. What's behind that, do you think?
Well, I think that the pandemic caused people to really move to a lot of areas, being able to work in places they hadn't considered before. And a lot of this will be persistent, but some of it is just gradually achieving some normalization and shifting, maybe not all the way, but part of the way back to what the pre-pandemic world of work looked like.
All right, Guy Berger, thank you so much for being with us.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. I don't agree that it's some moral issue to work from home. In fact, I think working from home would actually help in retaining your employees by having that kind of flexibility that allows them to do so. But that's my opinion, and you certainly can let me know yours in the comment section. So, I mean, you're cutting down on gas, you're cutting down on buying lunch every day. You're not putting all that wear and tear on your vehicles. I mean, there are advantages there, and some companies, they want you in the office where you're accessible to your other coworkers and your boss. So, I can see it either way, but I don't think working from home is morally wrong like Elon Musk. But let's get into this story, y'all. Let's get into it. Elon Musk says working from home is morally wrong. So the billionaire Elon Musk underlined his views on remote work in no uncertain terms this week, declaring working from home as morally wrong. The Tesla founder and Twitter owner, who has claimed to work 7 days a week, said in an interview that he did with CNBC. But he also expressed disdain for white collar employees who work from home on class grounds, with most service employees required to do their job on site. Yes, because with certain service jobs, it's impossible for you to do certain types of work and be at home. It just can't be done. That's why during the pandemic, they had what they called, and many of you remember, the essential employees had to still go to work, although the country was on lockdown, because those type of jobs simply could not be done from home, just like nursing and being in the hospitals during the pandemic. You can't do that type of job from home. I mean, that is just the way it is. So he goes on to say there are some exceptions, but I kind of think the whole notion of working from home is a bit like the fake Marie Antoinette quote, let them eat cake, he said. You're going to make people who make your food that gets delivered can't work from home. Well, that is the profession they chose. Right? I mean, if you don't want to work in the food industry, you can always switch careers and work in a whole different industry. People do that all the time. And who says that delivery people are not getting work? A lot of these people working from home, because they are working so many hours, they may not always get around to cooking. So those delivery people do come in handy. Even when people are shut in, they will come in handy. So I don't know if I agree with him on that, but let's go on. The people that come and fix your house, they can't work from home, but you can. Well, it's a whole different profession. And in my opinion, Elon is comparing apples and oranges. If somebody works remotely and they do the kind of job where they can log into a server and get their work done, where a person is doing a sort of a more hands-on kind of job where they're fixing homes or they're fixing electricity. Yeah, I mean, why would they be upset? Their profession requires them to do a physical kind of work that they can't do from home. He seems to think that that person that's still got to be out there is upset about that. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Even during the time when we were locked down, I had problems with the cable at home. And someone from Comcast had to come out to my home and physically fix the problem, and it did get fixed. It was, in fact, he and I had a great conversation when he was here. He didn't seem upset to me at all. If anything, he seemed happy to be working, but he had to physically come in here and do work on the inside, and then he had to go outside and do some work on the outside in order to fix the problem I was having. This man didn't seem upset about that at all. If anything, he was happy to be working. So I don't know. I guess I'm not. I understand where he's coming from, but I'm not totally with him on this. So he goes on to say it doesn't seem morally right. That's messed up. So he's saying the person has got to be out there and work because of their profession, and then the other one gets to be at home. That's kind of messed up. I don't think so. I mean, we can't all do the same profession. That's just the way it is. Musk also took aim at bosses who work from home while overseeing employees who must show up in person to do their jobs, calling them out of touch and hypocritical for asking someone else to not work from home while they do. It's messed up to assume that, yes, they have to go to work, but you don't. It's not just a productivity thing. I think it's morally wrong, he told CNBC. Many large employers in the US and abroad have settled on hybrid work models, recognizing that employees prize flexibility and enjoy the time and cost saving of not having to come and commute to an office. Yeah, I would think a lot of people would be happy about that. I mean, look at the gas prices out here. They're always rising, and we're in that time of the year where everything is going to go up because of the season. The spring and the summer, all the way leading into fall, things tend to be a lot higher this time of the year. Musk highlighted the distinction between office workers and whose jobs can only be performed on a factory floor like auto workers. Well, yeah, I understand that. Both my father and brother were United Auto Workers. So I understand my father had the kind of job he could never do from home. He was a forklift operator, he was a senior forklift operator, and he couldn't do that kind of job at home, you know? So The laptop class is living in la la land, as I said. Look at the cars. Are people working from home here? Of course not, Musk says. Not surprisingly, that Tesla, SpaceX, and until recently, Twitter CEO requires his employees to show up for work in person. Musk said he himself works almost every day, taking just 2 to 3 days off per year. I work 7 days a week, and I'm not expecting others to do that, he said. You know, first of all, you gotta look at the conveniency, especially people with small kids. During the pandemic, children were at home. It was kind of convenient, for many parents because they were at home with their children. Daycare centers were closed, schools were closed. So that cut out any activities that your children would normally do or things they would do on a regular basis from school, and they had to do school remotely. You know, I think he kind of, I understand, you got to understand, he is a billionaire. His opinion is going to differ from a lot of people that are not billionaires, and they have to deal with family. They have to deal with their household bills and rent and mortgages and everything else that somebody like Elon Musk probably doesn't have to worry about nearly as much. I don't think it was an all bad thing for people to work from home, even if they had the ability to go back to the office. I would think it has been very cost effective for people to work from home. And then I have heard people say, well, you don't interact with your coworkers as much, but sometimes people are more at ease because they're not stressing or feel that same pressure from being in an office. But I know I've had many of my subscribers that told me they were working from home. So if that's you, drop into the comment section and let me know what you think about this story. But I disagree. I don't think it's morally wrong for people to work from home. I think that's a tad bit too strong. If you're not in agreements of it and you want your employees back, then you as a business owner, then you do what you have to do. But there are plenty of people in business that don't want to be bothered with leasing a building and then paying for security and paying to keep services like your servers and everything up and running. You don't have to do even that on a fraction of the level. Yeah, you got to have a server on, but you probably don't need as many now that you don't have people physically packed into a building. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.